Welcome to DunnWise Perspectives, a podcast about stories of resilience and shifting mindsets. I'm your host, Doris Dunn. My guests are leaders, entrepreneurs, and everyday people who've navigated change, faced uncertainty, and discovered new ways of thinking when life didn't go according to plan. If you're navigating a season of change, feeling stuck, or simply curious about how small mindset shifts can lead to meaningful progress, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of DunnWise Perspectives. This is my first recording with someone in the room with me. I am so excited to have Peyton Marquez with me. And before I introduce her, I have a fun story. I was at a local winery back in 2022, 2023. And I posted a photo of myself at the winery, and it was a beautiful night. And a friend of mine saw the post. She was my realtor in California. Now, I live in Tennessee. My realtor in California sees the post, and she comments, "That's about 5 minutes from the house I'm building." I couldn't believe it. Our friendship kind of rebuilt itself. And the next thing I knew, I was invited to pickleball and lunch. And this community of gals from Southern California all connected together in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And one of the wonderful people that was here was Peyton Marquez. And Bonnie has an incredible story of resilience that I can't wait for you all to hear. And I'm going to let Bonnie introduce herself. So tell me a little about who you are, what you do, and maybe your family situation.
Yeah. So my name's Peyton Marquez, and I'm married, and I have 3 wonderful kids. I have 3 boys. Yes, it's crazy at my house, but it's also awesome because they love their mommy. My oldest is 22, just graduated from college. My middle son is 20, and he's in college right now. And then my baby, my 6'1" baby bear, is 16. That's a little bit about my family. And then I've worked in the entertainment industry basically my entire career, radio, events, very much in the country music space. And that's what I do. I love my job. I love my family. And then we moved to Tennessee. We bought a house in Tennessee during COVID. And that's how I became connected with all of you ladies from Santa Clarita.
The SCV squad
That's
is
right.
what we call ourselves. Yes. And we do have fun with lunches and dinners and pickleball. And what we're going to talk about today is your middle son, Peyton. Right. As we got to know each other a little bit better, obviously we got to learn about our personal lives, and we learned that your son, Peyton, has Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
Yes.
And tell us about that disease and how you found out that he had the disease.
Yeah. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a muscle wasting disease. Mostly affects boys, some girls, but mostly boys. It's a childhood disease, so they're born with it. It manifests itself a lot like ALS does, but it's muscular. And most of the time, the mother is the carrier of that genetic defect, but I am not a carrier. So ours was just a spontaneous genetic mutation. We could never have predicted that he has. So how we found out is, so I have 3 boys, and my youngest is 4 years younger than Peyton. And I had taken all the boys to our pediatrician, and I knew Peyton was small, but to see him in comparison to Bear, who's 4 years younger and was almost the same height as him, I asked the doctor, is there something going on with him? Should we look at getting some growth hormones or something? I didn't mind that he was small, but I was just wondering in comparison with his brothers, it just seemed odd. And my husband and I are tall. And he said, you know what, we could just start the process. He couldn't do anything until
For the growth
hormones, we'll start the process, but he can't do anything until he reaches puberty. But let's just start recording it so that we're able to do it once he reaches puberty. And I was like, okay. They did a blood test on him, and they took 8 vials of blood. He was 6 years old.
And you said, you were telling me before that how brave he was.
He didn't cry. didn't flinch. It was painful for me to watch. I just held him on my lap and he was just so brave, which actually was like a precursor to really how brave he is. It's just been ingrained. It's part of who he is. It's his DNA. I, at the time, was the head of marketing for Stagecoach and Coachella. So I had to go out to the festivals and I was gone a month. So he had the blood test. I didn't think anything of it. Okay, we're just establishing his care. And I went out to the desert. In between Coachella and Stagecoach, my husband called me and said, hey, we got this letter in the mail saying that Peyton's, it's called CK levels, are 26,000. And they're supposed to be like under 100 and maybe even less than that. It was high. He has to have another blood test. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. And the thing is, we weren't even that concerned. We were like, it's probably nothing. I'll just get a blood test when I get back. So I got back on a Wednesday. I took him to the doctor's on a Thursday, got another blood test. They called us Friday and said, we need to see you in the office on Monday. And I said, well, that's not good. They never do they unless it's something bad. So my husband and I took him that Monday morning back to
they told you, don't look at the internet, right?
Not yet. So we go back and our pediatrician was like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but with these high numbers, I think his kidneys might be failing. We're like, what? And so I need you to see a urologist and a neurologist. And they made us appointments that day. You're going. And we thought he was going to have to be hospitalized and that his kidneys were failing. And so both the doctors were like, yeah, I don't know. It's curious. I know this number's high, but he's not showing any other symptoms of anything. So we're at the doctor's all day. Then we go back to another pediatrician that was a friend of ours and say, what's going on? Can you really tell us what are they looking for? And he said, I'm going to call my friend who's at Children's Hospital, LA, and see what she thinks about this. We said, okay. We go home and not thinking anything of it. And Ethan gets a call from our pediatrician, the other pediatrician.
And Ethan is your husband.
Ethan is my husband. And he starts going, and I hear him on the phone going, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah, thanks. And I go, what'd he say? And he goes, oh, he thinks they're checking for muscular dystrophy. And I go, what? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, didn't you ever watch the Jerry Lewis telethon? Do you know what muscular dystrophy is? He goes, no. I just thought, oh, they're just going to give him a pill and he's going to be fine. And that pediatrician told him, don't look at the internet. So what we did is we went and looked at the internet. And literally,
as everybody does.
And then we're looking at the internet, we're looking at him. We're looking at the internet, we're looking at him. And I don't see it. It was very hard for us to put together that what we're looking at on the internet, which was so grim and just zero hope. And looking at our 6-year-old boy who's playing with his brothers and just has the personality. He's just sunshine in a bottle.
Yeah.
We just couldn't put that together. We continued to go see the pediatrician. Ethan's friend told him, what you need to do is find a hospital connected to a university because they will be way more aggressive in their care because they're research hospitals. I did some research. I found out that there was a DMD, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. We didn't know he had Duchenne at the time. A clinic at UCLA. So I called over there. I got us in, got an appointment, and that started us really on a road to figuring out what he had. They said he probably had what's called Becker muscular dystrophy, which is not as serious. Their life expectancy is longer. They're less declined. He had 2 muscle biopsies. I had to get tested to see if I was a carrier. Because if you're a carrier, that means your heart is actually at risk as well. Because, so the carriers have to be monitored as well. I knew I wasn't because my other 2, I knew they didn't have it. You could just tell. There was such a complete difference. So we started that process. Come December, we had planned a trip for all of our kids to go to Walt Disney World for Christmas. And because Peyton was obsessed with Walt Disney. He watched documentaries. That's what we're going to do. And so we surprised them with a trip. Before I was leaving, I got a call from UCLA and they said, we have your results. Can you come in? And I said, is it life or death? Do I need to come in now? And they were like, no. And I said, I'm taking my kids on a trip and I'll see you in January. We get back from our trip and then January 7th, so 5 days before his 7th birthday, the doctor, a resident actually comes in and starts talking to us about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And I said, what are you talking about? You've told us all along it was Becker.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, nobody's told you it's Duchenne. I was like, no, you're the first. And he was like, let me go get the doctor. I said, that would be great. And our doctor comes in, who I absolutely love, and told us that he has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And basically said, there's not a lot we can do about it. There's some things, but steroids, heart meds, whatever, you're just going to have to take him home and love him. And that was crushing for us.
Break down the disease. And I know you and I talked about this before we hit record. So I had a better understanding of what happens to the muscle. So in normal muscles, we work out. You and I both work out. And we know that when they talk about the muscles tear, it's a good thing because it's micro tears in the muscles.
Yeah.
And that when we sleep, those micro tears will repair themselves and the muscle gets stronger.
Right.
And in a Duchenne muscular dystrophy case, those muscles will still tear. What happens?
Yeah, so he's basically, his body is missing dystrophin completely, which is basically like the glue that holds the muscles together.
Okay.
And so when he tears, it never repairs. So eventually you have muscle and bone, and the muscle comes away from the bone. And that's why they lose mobility and lose the ability to use their hands and their arms. But the other thing is the heart is the biggest muscle. So it deteriorates the heart. And so it's just a complete decline of every muscle in their body over time.
Yes. But you were blessed enough to be at like you said, a teaching hospital, and they did get aggressive. And what was the first? I know you had you were part of two trials.
Right.
The first trial.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first trial and what patient number, dose number he was.
Yeah, so I knew that there was this clinical trial going on. There were 12 boys that were doing this clinical trial called Teplerson. And I had heard that they were going to be expanding it into a bigger trial. I was very aggressive because I knew he qualified based on his deletion. My husband says that they dosed him because they were tired of hearing from me. I kept calling. So when is it starting? So soon. So he was patient number 2, but dose number 1 for this clinical trial at UCLA called Teplerson. And then every week for 2 years, we took him to UCLA to get an infusion of this medicine. And we did actually see improvement in him. So I think it really slowed dramatically the decline. And then my husband went to Washington, D.C. with Peyton, testified with the FDA, and with our whole community rallied behind this. It became the first approved drug for Duchenne muscular dystrophy ever in the history of muscular dystrophy. So that was the first step. Then it became what's called Exondys. And he was on that until 1 year ago, a little over a year ago. But let's take a step back. Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, he really started to decline again.
And then just for our listeners, he's in a wheelchair.
He is.
And so he has lost all mobility in his
Lower
legs.
mobility, yeah.
I know that he can still eat, so he has some upper mobility,
Yes.
but he has to be helped moving from the bed to the wheelchair and all of that. You also mentioned that when he was younger, that you put him on a mobility scooter so that he could get around because you wanted to try to protect his muscle as much as you could. And share how the brothers helped and getting him up and down the stairs, why you got a mobility scooter so early.
When he was in second grade, we introduced a mobility scooter for a couple reasons. One, because we made a decision that if he was going to use his muscles, it was going to be for something fun, not something unnecessary, because it does break down the muscles. We also introduced it in second grade so that the kids could get used to it and he could get used to it. And the kids thought he was a rock star when we introduced that. They were like, this is the best. And so I think that really helped him to come to grips with what his life could look like. And then later we introduced the wheelchair because it just is more supportive for him. And again, it was just really to help him during times that we didn't want him walking. Up until about 2 years ago, he was still walking in our house. Like we allowed him to walk in our house or to get up to go to the bathroom or things like that. But it was Christmas, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before, where he is so unstable. He knew that his legs were giving out on him. And it's like, sometimes it's a traumatic process where they fall, break their leg, they never walk again. That's not what happened to him. He did break his leg once, but he was walking after that. His was like a slow decline to where all of a sudden I don't have the strength. Also, going down the stairs is actually harder on him than going up the stairs, but he couldn't really lift his leg to go up the stairs, but downstairs it tears the muscles like this. So we did not allow that at all. And his brothers would put him on their back and carry him down the stairs. His brothers have been amazing. And it's really hard to be a sibling. He is the center of our family for so many reasons. And I think sometimes it's difficult on them to watch it for multiple reasons, but also he gets a lot of attention from us.
Yeah. Your family, love how supportive everybody is. And I know that sometimes something like this can tear families apart. In your case, it has completely drawn you all together.
And we decided early on, after he was diagnosed, we spent like a week, my husband and I, we were devastated, crying, grieving the life that he's not going to live. And we didn't know what his life expectancy was. My sister said it best when I called her and I said, hey, Bev, they said that Peyton has muscular dystrophy. And she goes, I'm going to call you back because I got to pull over and throw up. She devastated. Oh, devastated. And so we took we grieved that. And then we said, this isn't doing. And that's rarely where Peyton's Project came about. We said, they always say, whenever you're feeling depressed or think your life is bad, help others.
Yeah.
And that really was something that drove us and then gave us something to rally around and not feel so out of control. It's just really helped us to focus.
Yeah. Peyton's Project is a 501c3 and your fundraising started with running marathons with Peyton, right?
Yeah, we've done quite a few. We've done some galas in California, but my husband is a runner and he wanted to run the LA Marathon. And so it started with a team running the LA Marathon, not pushing Peyton. It was just a team. And my oldest son was at college and he started bringing some of his college friends in to run the marathon too and raise money. And his last year of college, we had 20 kids at our house and their parents and everybody rallying around it and running this. Then my husband started pushing Peyton and running marathons. So he's run the LA Marathon with him twice. We're in New York last year.
Yeah.
And he's going to run Berlin this year.
So
and
exciting.
The goal is to run all 7 of the elites.
Okay.
Which is New York, Chicago, Boston, Australia, Tokyo, Berlin, and London.
Wow.
So he's done New York. We're doing Berlin. I think Boston's the hardest to qualify for. To watch Peyton come over that line with his hands in the air is every single time I cry. Every single time. Oh, Ethan's pushing 180 pounds. And it's really incredible, the bond between those two, and then to watch Peyton get to experience something that normally he wouldn't has been really special.
Share another favorite story when he was younger and you went to Half Dome.
Half Dome, yeah.
And he insisted on going up Half Dome. And this was how many years after the diagnosis?
It wasn't like 2 years, but he was still small enough that we could do.
Yes.
It was pretty close after his diagnosis. He's probably 7-ish. We went to Yosemite as a family. And he saw Half Dome and he was like, I really want to climb that. And I looked at my husband and I was like, that's not going to happen. And my husband was like, okay, how are we going to make that? His mind's going, how are we going to make this work? And I was like, that's not going to happen. And then the next year, I literally got back from the desert and he said, okay, we're leaving in 2 weeks. We're climbing Half Dome. What are we doing? I haven't trained. I don't know what. And he had this whole plan put together. We had this backpack. He was probably 5 pounds away from not being able to use that backpack. We have to do it while he can still fit in this.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of his coworkers, like 4 or 5 of his coworkers and his best friend from high school and his daughter met us there. Logan came with us too. Logan was like 12. He was real young. And Bear stayed home because he was a baby. They took turns. All of his friends took turns carrying him to the base of Half Dome. And then once we got to the base of Half Dome, then Ethan took Peyton. We had ropes attached to us. I don't know if you've ever climbed it. It is.
I have.
It is
Not,
just
but I know that it's not easy as an individual.
It is scary. It's scary. We all had ropes attached to us and carabiners that we would like clip on as we were going up. But as you're going up, people are coming down. It's like this wide. Feels like this wide. And they have to swing off to the side to let you go up. It was terrifying. And one of our friends, they had a water bottle in there and it fell off and it went, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm watching, I was at the end of it. There were 2 people ahead of him and then 2 people behind. And I was at the end and I'm just watching my husband and my son on this mountain. And I'm just, this is really terrifying. We got to the top. The look on his face was just pure joy. And everybody who did it with us, I think it was just a moment they'll never, ever forget because that was something really, really special. Yeah. And so now he's climbed Half Dome.
Wow. And I know you took a lot of photos and videos of that. Is that available on YouTube or is that available?
I think we have some of it on YouTube or our website.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, we have some, but we had some people did like news stories on us and stuff. It was a very,
we'll make sure that all those links are in the show notes.
Yeah.
So people can take a look at the incredible, the marathon images and climbing Half Dome images, all of that. Let's fast forward to the second trial.
Yeah. And actually that is an approved therapy, the gene therapy. He had been declining. Declining significantly. He could barely do anything by himself. I was responsible for all of his care, getting him in and out of bed, getting him dressed. He could barely sit up enough. I was trying to hold him to get clothes on him, and we had to transfer him from chair. We have a 2-story house, so it goes up. We have a chair that goes up, a wheelchair at the top and a wheelchair at the bottom. We had to transfer him. He couldn't make his own food. He could barely open stuff. It was bad. And we were not prepared for it. I think along the way, we always say, all of a sudden, it's like we were wholly unprepared for that. We think we know what's coming and we don't.
Yeah.
But there was this gene therapy that boys in the 6, 7, 8 range who are all ambulatory had been given. And it was doing great things for them. They were continuing to walk. They were really seeing positive changes in them. So we talked to our doctor about it. Although he's non-ambulatory, it was approved for non-ambulatory too. So we decided that, yes, we were going to do this. It cost $3.2 million. I had to fight insurance along the way, obviously, but we got it approved and were able to have the gene therapy done. He was having it done on March 26th. The weekend before, we found out that a child had died from the gene therapy. So obviously we started questioning everything.
Yeah.
Do we do it? Do we not do it? We had some...
Your resilient son said, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah. We had some real heart-to-heart family talks. My oldest son, I was like, I don't know about this. He goes, Mommy, he has to do this.
Yeah.
And Peyton, we talked to the doctors. We had a lot of conversations about it. And he's 20 years old. He was 19 at the time. I said, you do have obviously a say in this.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to do it because I know what my life is going to be like if I don't. And that's not a life he wanted to live. So we decided to do it, and we did it, and things were going great. And then at about 5 weeks, his liver levels spiked up, and that was his first trip to the hospital. And then we got it down. But getting it down meant pumping him with steroids like you would not believe, with prednisone, 1,000 milligrams once a day, and then taking 120 milligrams. And if anybody knows about prednisone, it's hard on your system. So now he's being pumped with these steroids, trying to get those liver enzymes down and stabilize them. But he's getting sicker and sicker. And by his second stay in the hospital, I was not sure he was going to make it. It was really crushing to watch him be so sick. He said to me, as he's laying in the bed, and I just watched, and there's just tears streaming down his face. What's the matter? And he's, Mommy, am I always just going to be like this, just laying in a bed and not being able to do anything? And I'm like, that's why we're doing this. We're trying to, it's so hard to be so strong, yet you're just trying to keep it together.
You know, we're trying to keep it together for the
Yes,
podcast.
yes.
It's having a hard time.
It was crushing. And so we got through that stay, and then we had one more, and then we started seeing his liver levels go down and him starting to feel a little better. But it's really been a year before we're seeing a lot more of the results. And partway in, we could see he picked up a half and half container, like a big one, and opened it, which he hadn't been able to do. It's funny because he surprises himself sometimes.
Yeah.
He goes, what? And then
And recently he rolled over.
and then he was like, Mommy, there was something at the bottom of the bed. He goes, I picked it up. You did what? And then I was in the closet, and he goes, Mommy, look. And I look over, and he had rolled himself to the side. And I was like, oh my gosh. I go, can you roll back? And he goes, yeah. And he rolled back. And it's like watching your kid meet their milestones again.
Yeah.
And it's so small and so big. And it just, everything, we just celebrate it. And it gives him more confidence every time. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's still, we still have to shower him. We still have to help him with all of his toileting. And it's still a struggle sometimes. And he gets frustrated because if he drops something, he can't pick it up. If he still needs so much help that it's a struggle for him. But there's been a lot of positive changes. We know that gene therapy is not a cure, but we wanted it as a stopgap. Let's get him to another place, and then hopefully there's a booster or there's something else. So we're just bandaging him along the way.
And his quality of life has improved with these therapies.
It's not just about quantity of life, it's about quality of life.
Yeah.
And we did decide when he was diagnosed, so many families will go, oh, we'll do that when they get older. We'll do that when they graduate. We'll do that when they whatever. And we decided early on that we were going to make memories now while he is still able to. And so we started traveling quite a bit. We went across the United States in an RV. We've been to Australia, Europe, Alaska, all kinds of places. So that not just for him to see the world, but for his brothers to be able to have that bond with him and those memories and shared experiences.
Amazing.
Gone on multiple Disney cruises just so that they could have that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I started the podcast talking about our friendship and the SCV squad that comes together and rallies around all of us. We decided to get together for breakfast. You had already experienced the trauma of that gene therapy, and you were visiting Nashville, California, and you were sharing a little bit about the gene therapy. And then you mentioned that you had always wanted to do a gala in Nashville. And I don't know if you've even gotten the words gala out of your mouth. And there were, I think, 4 or 5 of us at breakfast. We all raised our hands and said, yes, absolutely. We will put something together. And we immediately dove in and said, all right, what can we do to help Peyton? And at that point, we hadn't met him yet. So we put together the first Barrels of Strength gala for Peyton's project. And we put it together fairly quickly. I want to say,
because that was like, I don't know, April, and we had it in November.
In November. And we had it at the Leapers Fork Distillery, and they did a lovely job. And we raised, I think, $30,000 the first year. And we immediately said, okay, this was successful. We've got to do this again. And we hosted it last year in Thompson Station and raised $50,000.
And that's what we netted. We raised quite a bit more. I think we raised 70.
Yeah, so I meant net. Yeah, so you were able to take $50,000. And Peyton's project is about helping other families who can't afford some of the mobility items that are needed and research.
Yes.
What's the mission of Peyton's project? I know it's mobility and research.
It's basically, yes, both of those. We've donated quite a bit to UCLA because they're doing research and they have the clinic and all of that. They have been such a support for Peyton. We use the money in different ways. We've repaired vans for people that's their only mode of transportation for their child. We've given mobility scooters away. This year, I partnered with this woman who she's a Duchenne mom, and she created this thing called the Perfect Lift, and we use it all the time. It secures him so we can lift him in and out of a bed.
It's like a little sling.
It's like a little sling. Yeah. We put him on the toilet with it. We travel with it. We used to use it when he would go to Magic Mountain or amusement parks to get him in and out of rides. So we donated a bunch of those to families with Duchenne. We try to find ways to help the community, but also give back to the research facilities. Yeah. And I've actually connected with the Duchenne Center here at Vanderbilt. So we're going to start supporting them as well.
I love that. And the planning is on the way for the 2026 Barrels of Strength Gala, and it will be in Eagleville this year. And August 29th is the date. So we have secured a location. We have the date. We have the save the date cards out there. Tell our listeners how they can learn more about the gala. And even if they're not in Middle Tennessee and can't attend, what can they do to support Peyton's project?
We have a website, peytonsproject.org. They can donate online. Obviously, that's a big portion of it. Provide silent auction items. We do raise quite a bit of money with those silent auction items. Come to the gala because it's amazing and so fun. We try to make it a fun, lighthearted night, but also there are some serious portions of it. It's always been really elegant and fun, and you get to meet Peyton, of course. Yeah. I call Peyton the closer because he is just charming and he really is a great advocate for his disease. He's not afraid to talk about it. He knows more than me now. He will tell me stuff. Oh, Mommy, did you hear about that? I think part of it is he just believes so wholeheartedly that he's going to beat this. And I think you have to have that.
Yeah.
It helps him to go on each day.
Yes. His speech last year was so emotional. And we'll make sure we have a link to that video with him talking about how scary it was to go through that gene therapy, that he knew that he didn't want to live a life without it, because he knew that it was going to make him better. And it absolutely has. And we're just so thankful for the doctors and the medical professionals that are doing the research. And Peyton's part of this research. He's absolutely part of the research. And I'm sure he will be mentioned in medical journals for years to come because of all of the trailblazing work that he's done as a patient.
I remember early on when he was doing the clinical trial, and it was hard. We'd take him out of school every week. It's hard for an 8-year-old, 9-year-old. And he had to have these muscle biopsies. They take pieces of his muscle. We should be protecting his muscle, but we're giving it for research. And I told him, I said, what you're doing now is going to save the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions. I always tell him, you're my hero. Yeah. He is a superhero.
He is a superhero.
And I always say everybody needs a Peyton in their life, because if you want to know what your blessings are, he is just a gift. He lights up a room. And I always say, once you meet him, you will never forget him.
I know. I love him so much. He is
precious.
He is precious is a perfect word to describe him. And I do hope that our listeners will have an opportunity to meet him. They will join us for the gala in August. And if not there, maybe they can join him at one of the marathons that he will participate in. We'll share more details about that. Maybe even my friends in Berlin, in Germany. I have family in Germany.
Oh, great.
I'm going to tell them,
have them come out
the marathon and you got to meet Peyton.
Yeah.
And I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. And they're hard to miss out there. The wheelchair that he pushes him in says Peyton's Project on it. It's bright blue. You just see Peyton. He's always, go faster, Daddy. It's like, oh my gosh. Then he starts talking about it. He keeps them really entertained. People pass them all the time. They're like, good job. Congrats. And when we are out on the streets after, people always come up to Peyton because he's so recognizable out there that people are always like, good job. I saw it. I don't know those people, but it's, he's very approachable.
Oh, yes, he absolutely is. And I can't wait to see him again in August. Anything else that you want to share? Any questions that I didn't ask that you want to share?
No, I think that's just really, I've glossed over basically 13 years of his life, but that's the basics of it. I hope that someday there is a cure and that we can help be part of that. It's a community of parents that are really trying their best to push research forward.
Yeah.
And I always just say, I'm so grateful to all of you that are helping with this gala and helping raise money, because ultimately we're just a mom and a dad trying to do the best we can with what's been given to us. And it's the support system that I have has really helped us to continue to go on, because some days it's very heavy.
Yeah.
But I know that I have people behind me that are pushing me and would be there in an instant if I needed them. And that helps you to get through to the next day.
And I'm so honored that I get to call you friend. I am so thankful that we met. I'm so thankful that I get to be a very small part of the success of finding a cure for this disease. And I will see you in August and many times before that. But
I appreciate you giving me a platform to talk about it as well. I think the more people that know about it, that can learn about it, it just really helps with the education of this disease as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so happy to do it. And let's tell the world we got to find a cure.
Yeah, we do. We have to find a cure.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening or watching this episode. If something from today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to share this episode with someone who might need it, or take a moment to reflect on what stood out for you. You can find show notes wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoy the podcast, subscribing or leaving a review helps more people find these conversations. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and remember, sometimes a small shift in perspective can change everything.